Welcome to 3rd grade. I will be taking you on a visual tour of my students working hard on their home building projects. The project we worked tirelessly on was grounded on the following I can statement. I can construct a floor plan for a house and calculate the cost of carpeting, tile, fencing, and paint using my knowledge of area and perimeter. This project was founded on the cognitive apprenticeship approach fusing the social constructivist theories. I provided students with the materials they needed to complete the assignment: calculators, rulers, and website catalogs for carpeting, paint, and tile stores. Most importantly, they came to realize that the most important resources would be their own prior knowledge, as well as their classmates. There was a rule into this project that was very new to my students: 3 before me. They needed to gain support from at least 3 of their classmates before asking me any questions. What they came to find out is when they collaborated with others, teacher support is faded and unnecessary. The students started asking questions such as, what is a floor plan? I then brought in floor plans for them to examine further and model after this approach. The conversations were riveting, and when students looked even further, they found that houses are measured in feet, something that we had worked on previously in the year. We then took a mini field trip to our school's very own atrium and analyzed how we would measure area. If we were going to measure our houses in feet, then students made the connection that area would be needed to measure in square feet. But what does a square foot look like? We investigated the tiles in the atrium and proved by measurement that each tile was equivalent to 1 square foot. This gave students a deeper understanding of a square foot when trying to plan for their houses. First, students needed a plan for their dream house, and they sketched these on blank sheets of white paper. Then, we needed a more concrete way to measure area, and students realized that they needed some sort of grid paper so they could calculate the area using their prior knowledge of length times width. Students transferred these images onto millimeter grid paper. Students were able to work at their own pace through this project. They were provided a list of to-dos, and the goal was to find others who were either experts on the goal they were working on or collaborate with someone who was working on the same goal. We also had open-ended questions each day to focus on some of the key concepts that were being brought up through this project. Some students had rooms that weren't exact squares or rectangles, and they had to use their knowledge to deconstruct these shapes. Students discussed ways they could do this. As students worked through their list of must-dos, they either chose to work alone during certain situations or looked to others for support. The first goal they needed to accomplish was finding the area of each room to calculate the cost of carpeting and tile. Students used their prior knowledge to complete the task that was taught to them previously through modeling, scaffolding, coaching, and then eventual fading. Many of the students chose to use the partial products method to find area of a room with 2 or more digits in a factor. Once students started to plan for tile and carpeting, they looked to others for support. They knew the area in square feet of each room, and now they needed to multiply that number by the cost of the carpeting or tile they choose. Because multiplying with decimals is not a 3rd grade objective, this was an extension, and they also could use calculators to support them. During this process, they asked each other if their answers were reasonable and checked each other's work. They realized that carpeting and tiling a house is expensive. During the process, it was interesting to see how students interacted together using each other as their social construction of knowledge. If a specific student finished a section of their project, others looked to that student for support and tips. The idea that 2 brains are better than 1 truly shone through when students made it to the 4.0 or extension opportunity. This challenge asked students to figure out how much paint they would need for a room. They knew the dimensions of the room, and I stated that walls were 8 feet high. I also gave them an approximate calculation that 1 gallon of paint would paint approximately 350 square feet. But I also told them that they would need to paint the room twice in order to get the desired color. Once faced with this challenge, instead of coming to me, all of the students working on this task decided to work together at the front carpet. They brainstormed ideas, figured out calculations, and used their prior knowledge to help one another through this task. This project was grounded on the fading steps of the cognitive apprenticeship and social constructivism. Throughout the year, I have modeled, scaffolded, and coached students to gain the knowledge in order to complete this project. With the help of their peers, I was able to fade my support. The work the students did throughout this project was incredible. They persevered, motivated one another, and focused on their prior knowledge. Time will tell if they will build their dream house in the future, whether it be a brick house with a picket fence or even a bat cave constructed underground.